Welcome to the coaching table. I'm Thomas Thompson, and I love helping leaders like you have the conversations that you're not having so that you can really lead yourself well. Because I find that when you're leading yourself well, you're really leading other people well. And today is the fourth in a coaching table series that I'm just calling Decisive Clarity. Our decisions define us as leaders. And it becomes imperative that we get better at making decisions. We want to be people who are able to bring clarity and decisiveness to the choices we have to make. And so what I'm just doing in these coaching tables is sharing a few of the things that I have used as principles and guiding keys in my decision-making process. I've used these in my personal life. I've also used these with the teams that I lead. Today is key number 4 in making decisive clarity decisions. Eat a Snickers. A few years ago, there was a successful candy campaign by Snickers where the commercial would come on and it would usually be some celebrity, but they didn't look like themselves and they weren't acting like themselves. They were angry or they were upset. And finally, someone realized they're not acting like themselves and they realized they're hungry. So they would give them a Snickers, they'd eat the Snickers, and then they'd turn into the celebrity and everything would be back on track. And kind of the tagline was, "You're not yourself when you're hungry." I'll borrow that to say, you're not the leader that you are when you are decision fatigued. You're not yourself when you're tired. When you make a lot of decisions, I want you to think about this. You have a decision-making battery operating in your life. It's in right here inside of you. And when your battery begins to get low, it's tough to make decisions. Quick example I read in the New York Times. They did a study of a prison parole board, and they analyzed over 1,000 parole decisions that they had to make in the course of a year. Here's what they realized. Prisoners who appeared before the parole board in the morning were paroled 70% of the time. Prisoners who appeared later in the day, in the afternoon with that parole board, were paroled less than 10% of the time. What was happening? Did they just happen to schedule all the good and model prisoners at the top of the day? No. What was happening was decision fatigue. As the New York Times writes, the study concluded that the mental work of ruling on case after case, whatever the individual merits were, wore the parole board down. They go on to say, this kind of decision fatigue can make quarterbacks prone to dubious choices in the fourth quarter. Can make CFOs prone to disastrous dalliances late in the afternoon, in the evening. It routinely warps the judgment of everyone, executive and non-executive. Yet few people are aware of it, and researchers are only beginning to understand why it happens and how to counteract it. You're not the decision-making leader you normally are when your decision-making battery is low. You're not yourself when you're tired. I remember a few years ago this happened to me. I remember exactly the details around it. It was a Thursday morning and I had spent the morning just making decision after decision after decision, a lot of things. Finally, I was hungry. It was lunchtime. I got in my car. I drove to a nearby shopping center. I just pulled in front of the first restaurant I saw. It was a pita pit. And I walked inside and I looked at this board and my brain started to fog. There were so many choices on this board. And I just said something, I'll have a number 2. And I remember the sweet girl behind the counter, she started saying, well, do you want banana peppers on it? Do you want salt on it? Do you want pepper on it? And she kept asking me these questions. It was 12:48 p.m. because I looked at my watch. And I said to her, ma'am, I don't care what you put on that pita. I will eat it as long as I don't have to decide. I had reached decision fatigue. When your decision-making battery is low, there's not much you can do until you get it recharged. Well, let me give you a few thoughts around decision fatigue. First of all, how can you combat that up front? A few thoughts. Number 1, delegate as many decisions as possible, especially small ones. This is one of the primary things I see when I'm working with a leader who has just moved from this level and they moved up a level in an organization. They still want to be involved and make decisions as if they were at this level, but they're not there anymore. And so they're spending their time getting involved in micromanaging decisions they shouldn't make. They shouldn't be choosing the font on the email that's going out or the color of this. They should delegate those small decisions. By the way, if you're a leader and you're making all the decisions, you are not developing leaders. You need to let your team make these. So delegate. What you're doing here is you're just moving these decisions off your plate. Because even these little decisions like what color flyer do you want, what kind of font do you want, these are all beginning to drain that decision-making battery. And you want to save those for the important decisions that you have to make that day. Here's a second thought for you. Understand your decision-making timetable. When are you best at making decisions? When do you have the most energy, the most thought? Are you a morning decision person? Or do you need to kind of clear out a bunch of stuff and then have the afternoon ready to relax and make decisions then? When does that work for you? Find that time and then try to bulk decisions. Try to say, hey, Thursday afternoons are great for me. I'm going to try to make as many decisions as I can and then be gone for the evening, whatever it looks like for you. And then a third is just sometimes when you are in decision-making fatigue and you realize it, you need to eat the Snickers. That may mean that you just say, we're going to table this till tomorrow. That may mean that you say, I'm just going to go home and get some sleep. I just need a break. Maybe you don't have that opportunity, but you can say, during lunch today, I just need to go for a walk, clear my brain, and recharge a little bit of my decision-making battery. Here's your coaching table question for you this week. How low is my decision-making battery? And do I need to wait on this decision until I'm recharged? I'd love to hear how you're thinking through your decisions. I'd love to hear your own experiences with decision fatigue. Scroll down and tap on my email and shoot me a quick note. Let's have a conversation about that. I'll be back next week with another key to decisive clarity. And until then, you're always welcome at the coaching table.